Let's look at the cards on the LOR report. We got the Octo Adventurer. It's a 3 mana from Bilgewater and Piltover. Multi-region. All right, that's awesome. I'm happy they're doing more of this. So we did see the art for all these cards released on Twitter early by some content creators. And I gotta say, I'm expecting we see more of them. It really looks like they're all dual region. So this is awesome. I love this. There is an Owlcat though, and it's not Bandle City. Okay. 3 mana, 1/4, elusive. Play pick an Explorer spell to create in hand. Pick an Explorer spell. What the hell is that? Is that this? Oh, that must be this. Explorer's Malfunction. Destroy a unit's equipment for 2 mana slow. Destroy a landmark. Are there like a bunch of them? Wait, this one is slow. This one is focus. 2 mana focus. Disable an enemy's positive keywords this round and again at next round start. Wow. Okay, these are actually quite good. Yeah, these are tokens. So these are the explorer spells that you can make with the Octo Adventurer. And this is heal an ally or your Nexus 2. Okay, these are actually these are pretty good so far. Okay, there's another explorer. 3 mana, 2/3. Okay, wait. So there are 4 tokens, and I'm assuming there are just multiple followers that make them. That's pretty good actually. Yeah, that's really good. There is going to be multiple followers that do this, I'm assuming. So we have okay, destroy units equipment for 2 mana. Destroy a landmark. Disable enemy pods with keywords. They're all super niche. Heal an ally. Okay, so this one is like the one that's more generally like usable. All of these actually seem pretty great. I think these are very good actually. It's like all of them are super niche. Like you're not gonna need to destroy a landmark in like every matchup, right? You're not gonna need to destroy equipment in every matchup. But for the time you do, you just pick this one and it's lit, and you win the game. Bro, are landmarks just like unplayable if most of the stats on these are good? Because we saw this one. This is a 3 mana 1/4 elusive. That's not really like a very aggressive unit, but it is an elusive blocker. That's kind of insanely good. 2 mana blow bar. I don't like the way you phrase that, but that is true. If you just play one of these, yeah, exactly. Wait, you're right, man. Wait, that's true. I unironically think that this makes bar like borderline unplayable, because a 3 mana 1/4 elusive, if you're playing like a deck that's a little bit slower, that isn't just like aggro, and that can just play like a 3 mana 1/4 that gets you a good card. If you know you're playing against Seraphine, yeah, no, you just take the destroy a landmark. Turn 7 comes around and you blow bar. Apparently, these cards are sick. You're playing against Ornn, well, now you can destroy a equipment. You're not playing against a landmark or a equipment deck. Well, you pick like this. You're playing against Pantheon or something. I don't know. This says disable an enemy's positive keywords this round and again at next round start. Does that mean that if I try to lucky find my Akshan, it just won't work because positive keywords are disabled by this? I'm assuming that's what it means. Freljord gets landmark removal. Actually, that's a very good point too. Some regions don't have good landmark removal. Like Demacia doesn't have it anymore. Freljord doesn't have it anymore. Freljord had the 8 mana card that did it. Now, I'm assuming they get, I can see the region here. Yeah, so Freljord gets access to, I'm assuming, 2 mana destroy a landmark. For Freljord, that is actually ginormous. Freljord wants to play slower. Huge. And this one is also like, yeah, these are just really good. All right, let's go over them one by one. There seem to be 5 followers here. So the one for Demacia and Freljord is a 3 mana 2/3 with Challenger. Pick an Explorer spell to create an hand. Okay, so that's all it does. This is just a 3 mana 2/3 with Challenger, which is, it's not great. Like, that's clearly like pretty bad, but if you're getting like a spell that gets you control over the game, that's incredibly good. That is so freaking insane, especially for Freljord. I don't really know how much you play this in Demacia. Like, it's probably fine, right? I think in Demacia, you care more about like healing a unit or your Nexus 2. Like, if you're playing a mid-range deck, you can play this so you don't like auto lose to, I don't know, a Vault deck or whatever. But if you're not playing against it, you just pick to heal a unit 2, and then you know, your mid-range unit, your I don't know, your Daybreak units, your Elite Shurima Daybreak card, the 4/4, is suddenly healthy again. Why the hell not, right? Really, really cool. This one is better than the Bilgewater one, I think. 2 mana 1/1 attune, Bandle City Ionia, Portal Pioneer, a 2 mana 1/1 with attune. Yeah, that's good. That's just like getting one of those 4 cards. This is really good. This card is also really, really, really powerful. I think especially for Battle City. I think if you're playing Ionia, you have less ways of using a 2-mana 1/1, but Battle City doesn't really care about that. Like, they're happy to attune, play like a Pythos after it. Interesting. I think this one is also really good for these regions. It's very fitting. And then we have a 3-mana 2/2 lifesteal for Shadow Owl and Targon. And it has the exact same text. Wow, a 3-mana 2/2. No, this one is huge. This one has to be the best one. For these 2 regions too, it's incredible. Wow, this is the best one so far, for sure. Yeah, it's Fangs. This is why they made Fangs a 3/2 again. So that he wouldn't compete with the Spectral Surveyor. And lastly, we have a 2-mana 3/1. Nothing. Just a 2-mana 3/1 for Noxus and Shurima. There's not much to say about this one. It's a 2-mana 3/1. Like, I believe that Noxus and Shurima are also the regions that need these type of cards the least, right? Like, Shurima already has Quicksand. Noxus has good ways to destroy a landmark and equipment, kind of with the Brutal Skirmish. It is a fearsome blocker, that's true. This is the only fearsome blocker. That could matter, for sure. Yeah, this is more of a tempo card. Like, you're playing a 2-mana 3/1 and you get a card that you might or might not use later. I think this is the worst one for sure, though. Yeah. These cards are good. Yeah. So you're not gonna see like every deck play these most likely because the effects they get are very specific, right? It's like not every deck cares about having any of these effects at all, but anything that plays slower than like aggro or like aggressive beatdown or even like a faster mid-range deck like maybe Elites, I think they're gonna play this. I think they're certainly gonna at least try to put these cards in their deck. It's the same with Weapon Masters, right? Like, I still think Weapon Masters are better, don't get me wrong. Like, Weapon Masters that are also dual region, they are definitely, like, better cards because you get to use the weapon the entire game, and some weapons are just straight busted. Like, let's be honest, right? But these play at a different speed than Weapon Masters. Like, if you're playing mid-range, you will play the Weapon Master. These are more for, like, slower, grindy value decks. I do agree that this one is the best one. This makes landmarks much worse. This makes landmarks so much worse. And I don't mind. Because the based way to play landmarks every single time used to be with Talia and Ziggs. You would play your Presivarium, your Ancient Prep, your Roiling Sands. It's like it's all really low-cost landmarks, right? And your opponent hates removing those because you can just replace them. But big landmarks, like, well, God forbid, Howling Abyss, or Bar, or Vault, they get destroyed by this. Poor Noxraya Arena, man. Noxraya Arena, I thought it was getting, like, maybe with a -1 mana buff, it would be close to playability, but no, that card will never see the light of day. Yeah, and ARAM feels entirely unplayable because of these cards, too. Man. I'm very happy to have these cards in the game, but I think it's a healthy thing to have. I also love the art on these. I adore the art on these cards. Destroy units equipment. Yeah, this is just like kill a Darkin. Monashirima also gets a huge hit. I think for Monashirima, it will matter, but it will matter less. If you're playing Monashirima and you know that these cards exist, you are going to play the Soothsayer and you are going to hard mulligan for it. This will make it easier, though, to just play 2 landmark removals on the Sun Disc. I think these are very cool. Which is the best one? Okay, so the best one is the Shadow Owl Targon one. Then it's probably the Scholarly Pioneer just because it's in Freljord. And Freljord loves this, man. A 3-mana 2/3 with Challenger, plus getting a card. I think just because this is Freljord, I think this is pretty, like, you can just ignore this card entirely for Demacia, but for Freljord, it's good, man. For Freljord, it is good. And then it's probably the Bandle one, I agree. But again, I think this is better for Bandle than it is for Ionia. And then the Octo Adventurer. And these 4 are all good. And then I think the Armed Acquisitor, or the Armed Acquisitioner. Why are these words so hard to pronounce every time? Yeah, this one is the worst. Again, I don't think if you're playing Noxus or Shurima, you really need a card like that, but I could be wrong. Acquisitioner. Oh, that's not right. Armed Acquisitioner. There you go. Figured it out. Thanks, Chad. You guys are my Google Translate nowadays. This is definitely a Runeterra champ archetype. Is it? You think there's gonna be like an Explorer spell archetype? I don't know. That seems too broad. I actually don't think so. I think these are just cards like Telstones. Like Telstones were really clever, but then they kind of turned out to be Rise cards in a way, kind of. So maybe there is going to be like a Runeterra origin that says like you can play any card that manifests or creates another card in hand. Maybe something like that. But yeah, these are very, very similar to Telstones and kind of Weapon Masters too. I think they have less in common with Weapon Masters because Weapon Masters are very much about like, I'm playing a good unit that has a keyword plus like a weapon that I can use later. I don't know. I feel like this is a Jax. You may put Explorers in my deck or something. I mean, I agree, kind of. However, if there are only 4 of these cards, I don't think so. And they're super specific. It's like, you don't want to play an Origin that just has the ability to like, when I'm playing against a equipment deck, I get to destroy their equipment. If it's a landmark deck, I get to destroy their landmark. It will make a lot of decks in the game just unplayable. I really think these will just exist to be tech options, and that is wonderful. Like, getting more tech options in the game is just really good. Just like, it will have less frustrating metas that have a card like Vaults, right? Where it's like, oh, if they have Vaults on 4, I'm just going to lose the game because they're going to play Solitaire. Now you actually have like a way to interact with that very well. Do you think we'll see a neutral card in LOR anytime? Well, we have Runeterra Champions. Aside from that, no, never. I really don't think so. More Triss support? Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it is more Triss support. Yeah. We're missing spells? Oh, they bring 4 spells. Like, you really can't go wrong with cards like this. It is entirely possible that we're still going to see like hyper optimized decks that just don't care about destroying a unit's equipment or destroying a landmark because they just play at like a speed that makes them want to play their deck in a very specific way. They're just like, yeah, I don't have to interact with you because this specific thing I'm doing is probably better than your landmark anyway, right? Mayor buff, yeah, no, it kind of is. Yeah, there is definitely a chance, I think it's a small chance, that these cards are going to be extremely frustrating for some players because they like playing a deck that is centered around one big landmark or forging. Like, if you're the type of player that enjoys playing a meme deck like Ornn plus Kayn, it's like, well, you're gonna have a bad time because these cards now exist, right? But on the other hand, if people are still playing a lot of Ornn Jax, then it's great that these cards exist because you get to interact with a very powerful deck. But meme decks are gonna like be caught in a crossfire sometimes for this kind of stuff. I think if you're playing a deck that doesn't exactly know what it wants to do, it's just like grindy, it's a bit slower, then you're gonna love playing these. Like, what's funny is if I'm playing like a Shadow Isle Noxus deck, I could just play like 6 of these Surveyors or Acquisitioners. Yeah, and so it is bad for me. Exactly. It is bad for me. But on the other hand, if I am playing a meme deck and I will be blown out by like a specifically powerful deck in the meta, like Vaults, like Ornn, I can just play one of these boys and then my meme deck can survive a little bit longer. And that's good, right? Worst case, yield 2? Yeah, exactly. That is the entire point. That is the takeaway for these cards. Like, you have 2 very specific, like, equipment or landmark hate cards, and then you have these 2, like especially the refreshments. They are just generally good. Like, if you don't have a unit to heal, if you don't have equipment or a landmark to destroy, if you don't have keywords to disable, let's just heal your Nexus 2, right? It's a guiding touch without the draw, but you got it off a unit, so yeah, whatever. Yeah, and we need a Nopify from these cards. That would be miserable, though, actually, if they had that. God damn. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they just offered a Nopify? Explorers deny? That would be worst case scenario, chat. Okay, I'm going to quickly rate them 1 to 10 because there really isn't that much going on today. Scholarly Pioneer, 8. Because it's Freljord. This one, 7. This one, also 8. Because it is a 3-mana 2/2 lifesteal. I think that's better than just this option. I think this one is the only one, the Spectral Surveyor, that's the only one you might actually play for the body. This is the only one where you're just like, I'm playing a 3-mana 2/2 with lifesteal in my Shadow Isle deck. That's fine. That's just good. 100%. The Armed Acquisitioner, I think this one is unplayable. This one is a 1, I feel. because you're playing a region that already has access to these effects. And Octo Adventurer is like, I'd say like a 6. Piltover and Buildfodder, I don't think care about these effects as much as something like Bandle City and Freljord do, and even Shadow Isles and Targon, actually. Like, the regions that care the most about this are Freljord, Bandle City, Targon, and Shadow Isles. So that's my take on these. Did you realize that the Explorer spells are Seraphine support? Yeah, unfortunately. Every time Seraphine support gets printed, it's an L. It's a fat loss for everybody. Seraphine can only play the Octo Adventurer, though. And that is actually really good. This is a good card for Seraphine. It is. Because it is a 3-mana 1/4. Like, sometimes it deals 1 damage, sometimes it's an elusive blocker, which I guess sometimes he can kind of struggle with. Good cards. Great cards. I think this is a net positive for the meta. That's my take. But yeah, these cards don't really tease anything. They're not really setting anything up. These are just like, hey, Runeterra gamers, we know you were frustrated with Vaults. We know you were frustrated with Bone Club on overall units, I guess. So here is some tech options if you require it. And if you hate aggro, well, let's just heal your Nexus too, right? Seems good. I'm happy with this card. This is a win for Runeterra right now, especially because destroy a landmark means that we can blow bar. Am I right?